Suryakala, first we're going to make the dough. To a bowl, take 2 cups of Maida, that is the all-purpose flour. Add a pinch of salt. To this, add 2.5 tablespoons of ghee. So just mix in the ghee. As you mix it with the ghee, you should get a nice crumbly texture. So when you hold it, you can see it's just binding together. So this is a good indication. Now gradually pour a little water and start mixing the dough. Mix the dough so that it's all well combined and it's nice and smooth. You don't want to knead it too much. Just gently mix it all in. Let this sit for about 20 minutes. For the sugar syrup, to the pot add 1 cup of water. Next add 1 cup of sugar. Wait till the sugar dissolves completely. After the sugar syrup is dissolved, boil it for about 2 to 3 minutes. Then add half teaspoon of cardamom powder. Add a few saffron strands. This will give you a nice color and flavor. Although the saffron strands are optional, reduce the heat to a low and let it boil for another 5 minutes. So you can see after 5 minutes the syrup is reduced a bit. Turn off the stove. So as the syrup cools down, it will thicken further. So now we're going to make the filling for the Suryakala. I've taken 100 grams of unsweetened Khoa or Khoya. Just crumble it roughly. So you can see it's very nice and soft and smooth. To this I'm going to add some chopped nuts. I have a combination of cashew nuts, pistachios and almonds that have been chopped. Next add a pinch of cardamom powder. Add 3 teaspoons of powdered sugar. So now you just mix everything. The filling is done. So I'm just going to divide this filling into small equal size balls. This way when we make the Suryakala, it will be easy. So I'm just going to divide the dough. Roll out the dough ball. So you can see, roll it out. It's not too thin, it's a bit thick. So using a cutter, I'm just going to cut out these circles. This is just to make things a little easier. So you can see, it's a bit thick. It's not too thin. So I'm just going to gently flatten the edges here because we're going to fold it in. So once you've done that, just dab a little water, gently rub it onto the edges. Take a little filling, close the side. Now see, just seal it so it stays intact. So just dab a little water to seal this. So once this is done, now gently start folding it in. So just pinch one side here. You need to use both your hands for this, it's easier, and fold it in. So that's how you make the pleats. Pinch and then fold it in. So I've made all the Suryakalas. Now I'm going to deep fry all of them. For this, take a nice wide kadai, pour enough oil for deep frying. Heat the oil so that it's just warm enough. Keep the flame on low. and gently slide in the prepared Suryakala pieces. So you can see as soon as you drop it into the oil, it doesn't bubble up immediately. So you need to cook this on low heat. The Suryakala generally takes a long time to cook because you're going to cook these on low flame. So you have to be a little patient with that. So now you can see the Suryakalas have got a lovely golden brown color. So once you've got this color on both sides, remove from the hot oil and gently slide it into the sugar syrup. And if the sugar syrup crystallizes, don't worry about it. Just heat it a little bit and you can slide them into the warm sugar syrup. Let it soak in the sugar syrup for about 10 minutes so it absorbs all those nice flavors. I'm going to garnish it with some chopped pistachios. You can enjoy these Suryakalas nice and warm. First, we need to make the sugar syrup. For this, I've taken 3 cups of water to a saucepan. This is a 250 ml cup. Next, add 3 cups of sugar. This is a 250 ml cup. After adding the sugar, gently mix it. Let the sugar dissolve completely. Once the sugar dissolves, boil the sugar syrup for about 10 minutes on medium flame. After 10 minutes, add half teaspoon of cardamom powder. Now this is optional, but this gives a very nice flavor and fragrance to the sugar syrup. I'm also adding a few strands of saffron. This is also optional. Now the sugar syrup is ready. Turn off the stove and keep it aside. So I have a few nuts here for the stuffing. Some almonds, that is a badam, some cashew nuts, pistachios and some melon seeds. Just roughly chop them and keep them aside. To make the dough for the Makkan Peda, I'm going to mix a few ingredients. To a bowl, add 1 cup of Maida, that is all-purpose flour. Next, add half teaspoon of cooking soda. Just give it a quick mix. Next, add half cup of unsweetened Khoya. Now this is homemade Khoya. I will give the link on how to make this Khoya in the description box. You can click on the link and make your own homemade Khoya. Next, add 2 tablespoons of unsalted softened butter. So make sure this butter is at room temperature before using it. Next, add 1/4 cup of fresh curd. Mix all the ingredients together to get a nice soft dough. If you don't have butter, instead of butter you can also use ghee. Once all the ingredients are combined, knead the dough for about 5 minutes. Take a small portion of the dough, roll it, gently press it in the center, place a few chopped nuts and a few strands of saffron. Close the dough ball, make sure you seal it on all sides with the filling inside. Gently flatten it in the form of pedas and keep it aside. Follow the same method and make all the pedas and keep them aside. Take a kadai, pour enough oil for deep frying. Once the oil is hot, maintain the heat on a medium-low. Gently drop the pedas one by one. Deep fry them till you get a lovely rich dark brown color. Deep fry them in batches. Once all the pedas are fried, drop them into the sugar syrup. Let it sit in the sugar syrup for at least about 4 hours. You can also leave it overnight. After 4 hours, you can see the pedas have plumped up. They've absorbed the sugar syrup so beautifully. They are so soft. They literally melt in your mouth and they're so juicy. Serve the Makkan pedas with some sugar syrup and some chopped nuts on top. To a bowl, take 2 cups of gram flour or besan. To this, I'm going to add 1/4 cup of rice flour. Next, add a pinch of salt, just about 1/4 teaspoon or less. Mix it all in. Now the rice flour is going to add a nice crunch to the boondi. To the besan or the gram flour batter, I'm going to add some hot oil. To this, I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of hot oil. Now gradually pour the water and start mixing the batter. So initially I'm adding about 1/2 cup of water. So totally I've added about 1 cup of water to get this consistency. So make sure you add the water gradually. You don't want to add too much. So I'm just going to dilute this a little more. So I've added a little more water, just about 2 teaspoons. So using a whisk to mix it will be easy because it will avoid any lumps that are there. You can see the batter has become nice and smooth and creamy. So this is how you want the batter to be. You can also use a spatula or your hands to mix it if you don't have a whisk. So now the batter for the boondi is done. Keep this aside. To make the boondi, take a kadai, pour enough oil for deep frying. Once the oil is hot, start making the boondi. So you can see I have a boondi spatula here. This is available in the markets. You can get one of these. If you don't find this, you can also use a regular spatula which you have at home. Take a little bit of the batter, pour it onto the spatula. Make sure the oil is nice and hot. Once you've added the boondi, they'll cook immediately, so you can see the instant color change. Remove it from the hot oil and keep it aside. Once the sizzling stops and the boondi have turned to a nice golden brown color, remove from the hot oil and keep them aside. So next I'm going to make the sweet boondi. This is called Bellam Boondi, which is a very popular sweet in Andhra. We're going to make this with jaggery. To a pan, take 1 cup of water. So first we're going to make the jaggery syrup. Next add 1 1/4 cup of powdered jaggery. Keeping the flame on medium, continue to thicken the syrup. So when you drop the jaggery into the water, it hardens immediately. And you can hear a nice sound. So you can see it's become nice and hard. So this is the indication of a 1 string consistency. The jaggery syrup is ready. Now add 1 teaspoon of ghee and 1/2 teaspoon of cardamom powder. So just mix it all in. Turn off the stove at this point. Now just drop the boondi. quickly start mixing it in. You can see those beautiful strings coming out of the jaggery. Make sure that everything is well coated. This has to be done as quickly as possible. Now transfer this to the greased plate. So gently press it in. While the bundi mixture is still hot, just cut it into desired size, because once it hardens, it will be difficult to cut. So you can see the Bellam Boondi is set beautifully. It's got this lovely crunch and the jaggery is perfect. You can cut it into pieces, put it in an airtight box, and you can keep it fresh for about 2 to 3 days. Wow, look at that. Set beautifully. Just break it. So now if you see, it's easy to break it on all sides. Badam halwa, I've taken 2 cups of badam almonds, soaked it overnight in water. So you can see the soaked badam is plumped up beautifully. Peel the badam and keep it aside. Next I'm going to grind the badam. Now I've taken 1 cup of milk. Gradually pour the milk and grind it to a nice fine paste. So I've used about 1.5 cups of milk. This is boiled and cooled milk that I'm using to grind the almonds. So you can see the badam paste is ground beautifully. It's not too fine or too coarse. Take a kadai, add 2 tablespoons of ghee. First I'm going to cook the badam paste. Stir the badam paste for about 20 minutes on medium-high flame continuously. Make sure it doesn't stick to the pan. So you can see the badam paste is thickened beautifully, all the excess moisture is evaporated. Next I'm going to add 2 cups of sugar. Stir it continuously on low flame for about 10 minutes. Now you can see the mixture starting to bubble up. Add 1 cup of ghee. Maintain the temperature at a low. After adding the ghee, keep stirring. You can see the mixture has absorbed the ghee completely and it's slowly beginning to thicken. I'm just going to add some saffron milk. Keep stirring the mixture continuously until it thickens and it's not sticking to the pan anymore. So the mixture is thickened beautifully, it's not sticking to the kadai anymore. So the badam halwa is ready. I'm just going to add 2 tablespoons of ghee and finish it off. Turn off the stove, serve the badam halwa either hot or at room temperature. First I'm going to make paneer for the paneer jamuns. For this I've taken 1.5 liters of full fat milk. Bring the milk to a boil. I'm going to add the juice of 2 lemons. I'm going to dilute the lemon juice with 1/4 cup of water. Once the milk comes to a boil, reduce the flame. Now I'm going to add the diluted lemon juice. Just give it a quick stir. You can see the milk has curdled beautifully and all the whey water is separated. Turn off the stove. Strain it into a muslin cloth. Rinse the paneer with a little water to remove the lemon taste. Squeeze out the water from the paneer and hang it in a place to remove any excess water coming from the paneer. Leave the paneer to strain for about 30 minutes. Next, I'm going to make the sugar syrup for the paneer jamuns. For this, take a saucepan, add 3 cups of water. Add 2 cups of sugar. Once the sugar is dissolved, I'm going to flavor the sugar syrup by adding 1/4 teaspoon of rose essence. Add a few dry rose petals and some cardamom powder. Turn off the stove and keep the sugar syrup aside. Now I'm going to make the paneer jamuns. Take the paneer in a wide bowl. So I'm going to knead the paneer. To this I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of corn flour, 2 tablespoons milk powder. Mix the paneer along with the milk powder and corn flour and knead it for about 10 minutes till it forms a nice soft dough. To give these rose jamuns a lovely pink color, I'm adding a rose color liquid gel. If you don't have a liquid gel, you can buy the coloring powder and add about 1/4 teaspoon to get the required rose color. After adding the food color, knead it for about 10 minutes till you get a nice soft dough. So you can see it's nice and soft. Pinch off a little bit of the dough and start making the paneer jamuns. So just roll them between your palms. You can shape them however you want. I'm just going to make an oval shape here. Reheat the sugar syrup and bring it to a boil. Once the sugar syrup comes to a boil, reduce the flame and gently drop the paneer jamuns into the sugar syrup. Leave some room in the pan for the paneer jamuns to double in size. Increase the flame to a medium. Close and cook the paneer jamuns in the sugar syrup for about 10 minutes. So after 10 minutes, if you see, the paneer jamuns are doubled in size. So once they are cooked, turn off the stove and leave them in the sugar syrup for about 2 to 3 hours till it absorbs all the flavors and the juices from the rose essence, and then you can serve the paneer jamun. For the murukku dough, first I'm going to roast 5 tablespoons of urud dal. Roast it to a nice golden brown color. So you can see the urud dal has got a lovely golden brown color to it. It's a very light color. You don't want to roast it too much. Once you've gotten this color, turn off the stove and cool it completely. Transfer the cooled urud dal to a mixer jar and grind it to a nice fine powder. For the dough, I've taken 2 cups of rice flour. Next, add the ground urud dal powder. Next, add 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon chili powder. So chili powder is optional. If you don't want the chili powder, you can do it without that. 1 teaspoon sesame seeds, So I'm using the white sesame seeds. You can also use the black ones. Half teaspoon ajwain, quarter teaspoon hing or evaporator powder. Mix everything. Next, add 2 tablespoons of ghee. So gradually pour water little at a time and start mixing the dough. So you can see the dough has come together beautifully. It should be nice and moist. So everything is well combined now. So as soon as you make the dough for the murukku, you have to immediately make the murukku. You don't want it to let it sit. Then the dough can become a little dry. So next I'm going to grease the murukku press. So make sure you grease it inside nicely. So greasing the murukku press will just make it easier while you press it down. So I have these 2 pattern plates here. I'm using the star pattern. You can use whichever you want or you have at home. So to fry the murukku, we're going to take a nice white kadai and pour enough oil to deep fry them. So I'm just going to slightly grease the spatula. So make sure the backside of this big spatula is greased. So I'm just going to show you an easy way to gently drop in the prepared murukkus into the hot oil. Make sure you maintain the heat of the oil on medium-low. So an indication to check if the murukku is cooked is when the oil stops bubbling. So that is a nice indication. So you can see the murukku has got a lovely golden color to it. It's got a light tinge of brown. So this is a nice color. And this is how you want it to be. If you'd like it a little more brown, just leave it in there for another minute or 2 and remove it. So if you feel the dough is a little dry because the rice flour tends to absorb all the moisture. If you feel while you're making the murukku, the dough seems to get a little dry, just dab it with a little water so it's not dry and just mix it. Now you can see it's nice and soft. Don't add too much of water, just dab little water to get the right consistency. This is another way to make the murukku, but this requires a little more experience. So for beginners, you can probably put it on the spatula and do it. It's easier that way. So don't worry about the shape of the murukku. So if you're a beginner, just feel free to make your own shapes. So you can see the oil stopped sizzling. Just remove the murukku. It's got this lovely golden color.